Apart from the speakers, I request all of you to keep your phone on mute, please. We'll just, all of you. Hello and welcome. I'm Rituparna from Sa-Dhan, and it's an absolute pleasure to find all of you here. Here we thank you to join. And while we talk on the topic, paving the path of inclusivity, women participation in MFI workplace, I have 4 speakers and 1 moderator, and Gigi sir is also here. And before I request Gigi sir to take over, my 2 requests. One is to put the phone on mute. And if anyone has a question, please put it in the chat box. If you want an answer from any particular speaker, please mention in the chat box that you want the answer from the speaker. So, Gigi sir, over to you.
Thank you, Ritu. Good afternoon, all of you. I welcome all of you for this today's webinar. It's a webinar on Women's Day special webinar we are organizing today. I thank Shobha Roy for being the moderator, Dr. Sudha Kotari for being here as panelist, Ms. Bindu Anand, Ms. Prasida Kunam, and Ms. Kranjish Sethi. Thank you to all of you for being part of this discussion. And we hope to hear from you and learn from you, and also understand the way forward. How do we take this agenda forward? In fact, the background of this topic itself is that, of course, we needed to do a program in connection with the International Women's Day, which is coming up on 8th March. So when we thought about that, we thought that this could be one of the topic, because Dr. Sudatai had been very passionately conference of Sa-Dhan when we presented the data. Can you hear me? Okay. Because the women's participation in the MFI workplaces had been shown as 13%, which probably has been low, especially when we are talking about women empowerment and MFI is working towards the women. So probably we thought that women's participation in the workplace has to be slightly more than what it is right now. So Sudatai had been advocating that we should take some steps to correct this situation. So we thought this could be the first step for that, to create a kind of awareness among ourselves, the need for bringing more and more women to our own workplace, where we are basically working with the women, because 99% of our borrowers are women, and it is directly impacting the lives of women. In fact, let me also tell you that, first of all, let me greet all of you here, and all of you are listening to me. Very happy Women's Day. Women's Day has to be every day. So I don't, although we are doing it, it is inappropriate, because every day has to be a Women's Day. So today we are celebrating it. It's beginning in 1908 in US, when a group of women, around 15,000 women, came onto the street, and they demanded for their rights, especially the rights for better work, work conditions, in the sense shorter work period, better pay, and also the right to vote. So this was done in 1908, and following year, when the Socialist Party of America came to power, they declared that day as a National Women's Day. Subsequently, in a women's conference held in 1911, where 17 countries had participated it was decided that the National Women's Day has to be celebrated across the world as a International Women's Day. And the same year, four countries like Austria, Denmark, and Germany and Switzerland celebrated it as a International Women's Day. Followingly, we had in 1975, UN declaring it as a Women's Day, International Women's Day. So since then, we know that every year we are celebrating Women's Day across the country, across the world, across the globe. So this year also we'll be celebrating 8th being a holiday and holy. Probably the celebrations will be either the previous day or the next day. So we thought to do it today. When you see the women's participation, basically we know that women, almost 50% of the population in India, of course it is 48%, but it's around 450, almost 50% of the population across the globe. But then unfortunately, the women's contribution in economic, especially the GDP growth, GDP and all, is much less in India. Of course, the data says that it is around 16%, which is almost half the world average. And if you see the China is 40%, so it is quite less from Sweden. But I'm sure this 16% or the 40% or the 32% which we are talking about, it doesn't count the kind of efforts and the efforts and the contribution women have for the domestic life. In fact, the kind of the domestic duties the women undertake, I don't know how we can monetize them. If you monetize them, it could be high, very, very high. But then, unfortunately, economics doesn't talk about these kind of data. It only talks about what is GDP contribution and directly impacting the economy only. So that's how the number is low. But then there is a need to reverse this. Now, coming to the workplace participation of the women, I just seeing the data, it has come down. In fact, in 2005, it was almost 25%. And in 21 March data shows around 17%. So it has come down substantially. This needs also reversal. In fact, I was seeing the leadership position of women. It says that around 4.7% of the CEOs are women and 7.7 board positions are held by the women. So there is definitely a disparity as far as the current situation is concerned. So it's bounded duty of all of us who are here to see that how do we rectify this. And now coming to the specifics of MFI, as I was mentioning that there are around 2 lakh employees in the MFI sector, of which hardly 13% only are women. And as I said that MFI sector, basically microfinance sector, works for the women and with the women. So here this number looks to be very, very low. So how do we change this? How can we improve the body? So all the MFIs who are joined today in this conference, in this webinar, my request to all of you is that can we make a conscious decision to enhance this number? If we can take this 13 to 20%, that itself is a great achievement, or make it 15% by another 1 year. So let's make a real effort towards this and ensure that we make this, there's a change, we make a change by bringing more people into our workplace. So with this, I stop here because there is an excellent panel with us who would be deliberating more on this subject. So I won't take more time. I once again greet everyone a happy Women's Day and always and hope that every day is an International Women's Day for all of us. Thank you so much. And I hand over to Ritu. Thank you, Ritu.
So I think Shobha will take over now. Shobha, please. Request.
So we can then go, then we can go into the discussion. Shobha, please take over. Please.
Yes, thanks a lot, Mr. Maiman, and thanks, Rituparna. In fact, just taking cue from whatever Mr. Maiman mentioned just now, we know about the famous dictum, government of the people, by the people, for the people. So when an industry is for the women, with the women, then, it is quite intriguing as to why we have such poor representation of women in this industry per se. So, in fact, I think Sa-Dhan has done an excellent job in pointing this out, this anomaly, I would say, is quite stark, because one would want to believe that an industry which is meant for women would do very well if we had more women in the workforce leading the team. So without further ado, I would like to move on to our excellent panel of speakers who've been kind enough to be with us today. First, I would like to go over to Ms. Dr. Sudha Kothari. She is the founder and managing trustee of Chaitanya. She is undoubtedly one of India's most acknowledged authorities on SHG federations, self-help group federations, and she is best equipped for this role. She holds a PhD in sociology and has a rare blend of strong grassroots and institutional experience. She combines academic rigor with a practitioner's zeal, I think, which is what makes it so special. Her prescriptions combine deep research with profound lessons drawn from ground realities. So Dr. Kothari's first experiment took the form of Gramin Mahila Swayam Siddha Sangha, GMSS, which she set up in 1993. This was the first federation of SHGs in Maharashtra, which is still running vibrantly. She simultaneously set up an NGO named Chaitanya as a vehicle to nurture other self-help groups. Chaitanya is in fact one of the pioneers of community-based microfinance institutions in Maharashtra. Since its formation, Chaitanya has played a catalytic role in spreading SHG movement in and around Maharashtra. At present, 40 federations promoted by Chaitanya are owned and governed by women members of 8,500 plus self-help groups and work as strong, sustainable institutions that perform financial and other socio-developmental activities. So I will go over to Dr. Kothari here, who has the perfect combination of theory and practice. So Dr. Kothari, please.
Thank you, Shobha. And I'm very happy to be here. First of all, I would like to thank Gigi for finally taking up this issue and I think making it a commitment by Sa-Dhan. Sorry, to take, am I audible?
Yeah, yes.
To take this issue ahead and work on it. I think that conviction that yes, Sa-Dhan as a national institution can play an important role, and I think all of us coming together is important. And other thing which I would like to share, that this work has come out of the efforts of many people on the ground, many team members, many people who guided, many people who financed. So it's just some person at the top, and I would like to acknowledge that our Executive Director Kalpana Pant is also on this just now meeting. So she could perhaps elaborate some of that later if required. I would like to say that if we decide that yes, this we make a collective effort to increase the number of women at different levels, I would like to just share an experience that we ran a course of community-based microfinance development. So that was for management cadre. And our experience, and that time we made a condition in the beginning that it will be meant for women only. And it was also assured with confirmed placement. So those who go through successfully pass through this will get confirmed placement. And I'm happy to share that this course did help us get more women into this cadre. And now we have regular courses which Kalpana could highlight. So I think one is having opportunities where women will get the opportunity to get themselves trained and be placed. Now, there are two types of people, those who are in service and new people who want to come in. For in-service people, it will be more of e-learning programs which need to get in. For fresh people, it's good that it is a residential course, so it gives a combination of experience directly also along with it. So this sort of courses on one hand, recognizing women leaders, and because I think in this SHG movement also, having role models in that region, women can do this. So creating such role models within organization, within the region, and recognizing them, supporting them to come up, because the first few role models are difficult. And that time a lot of support is required. Then many more people come forward, many more women come forward. So working on that also has been helpful in our experience. And along with that, work-life balance, managing the home front and the work. So that requires some input and how to deal with the situation. And also at times counseling services are needed. So a combination of these, if worked out together, and if each MFI sets a target for itself, and there's supportive services available from Sa-Dhan, and the media plays the role of seeing that such programs are available where women have access to the training and can be placed. And we also offered a loan component for those who wanted to do this course. So and then they could pay it in installments once they are through with the training. So I think these combinations will definitely help us move forward. And if Sa-Dhan at its annual conferences recognizes institutions which have changed this percentage of women in their higher cadre, I think all these will contribute to making this possible. I'll stop here and we'll move forward.
Dr. Kothari, thanks a lot for this wonderful, passionate speech. In fact, I think skill is certainly one of the areas where the industry needs to look at, because microfinance being largely rural, semi-urban kind of a phenomenon, I think having the right required skill is what is the need of the hour, and such courses which can bridge that gap between what is required and what is provided will go a long way in ensuring bringing more women into the fold. So I will move on to our next speaker, Bindu Anand. She is the chair, co-founder and managing trustee of Dwara Holdings, formerly the Dwara Trust. Bindu is the founder of Dwara Health Finance. Prior to this, she was board chair of Northern Arc Capital from 2009 to 2018. She has also worked in ICICI Bank's microfinance team between 2001 and 2005, and was head of the new product development team within their rural banking group in 2007. She has an undergraduate degree in economics from Madras University and master's degrees from Institute of Rural Management, IRMA, and Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government. Bindu has in fact co-edited Financial Engineering for Low-Income Households, a book published by Sage. She is also published in the Economic and Political Weekly, OECD Trade Paper Series, and the Small Enterprise Development Journal. Bindu has also been a member of several important committees, including the 3-member Committee on Financial Inclusions, SME Finance and Housing Securitization, Task Force of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India for 2017, India's High-Level Committee on Women 2014-15, and the Tamil Nadu government's Expert Committee on Revival of MSMEs. She's an independent director of Neo Growth Credit, Avanti Finance, and Syngenta Foundation. Bindu was a recipient of the ET Prime Women's Leadership Award in 2020. So Bindu, we are really fortunate to have you on board today. And I think you bring the right kind of experience from your, the stint in the private sector also. I think you would be able to share better light on, what is it that needs to be done both in the industry as well, in the larger banks, so that to bring a larger difference.
Thank you so much, Shobha, for the introduction. Thank you, Gigi, Sa-Dhan, for inviting me to this conversation on such a key topic. So thank you also, Sudha ma'am, for instigating this. I was reflecting that in all my years of speaking about various issues in the financial sector at MFI, I've never been on a panel in which we talked about this topic, about increasing the share of women in our industry. So I think, if anything, overdue, but wonderful initiative. So just a few reflections, and I really look forward to learning more from the other speakers. But speaking about Dwara, KGFS, and just to share some data, Dwara Kshetriya Gramin Financial Services is the rural micro-lending entity of the Dwara Group. We serve about 1.5 million customers, all in remote rural locations. So as a deliberate sort of strategy. If you look at our numbers, about 18% of our field staff are women. 40% of the leadership team, which is sort of CXO and thereabouts, are women. And 50% of independent directors on the board are women. So it's actually, interestingly, a bit of the inverted pyramid. Usually when we have these conversations about women in the workforce, we usually have the opposite concern to say at the entry level, we have a lot of women. And then as we move up the pyramid, we tend to lose them along the way to various life events, marriage, maternity, so on and so forth. And I'm sure some of that is also going on, but I was just reflecting while preparing for this conversation that at least we seem to have a bit of an inverted pyramid. And I think the problem we share with the rest of the industry is very much the extremely low representation of women in the field force. And that, as all of you who spoke before me have remarked, is particularly ironic given the large majority of our customer base are women. So just, I think, a couple of reflections. I think one, as Gigi stated, it is hard to separate this discussion from the overall sort of macro picture that in India as a whole, female workforce participation is low and declining. It's been falling for many years now. And I think, there is some debate about the numbers, but I think, everybody agrees that it is low. It is actually comparable, slightly inferior to the numbers in sub-Saharan Africa. So forget comparisons with China or our neighbors, Bangladesh, etc. I think as far as this metric is concerned, we are doing slightly worse than sub-Saharan Africa. So that's really something to worry about. And the MFI industry, of course, does not exist in a void. That's the macro context. And why is that the case? I think some of that decline is actually for good reasons. More and more women are, coming out of the workforce, going into higher education. So that's sort of a good explanation for why female workforce participation is falling. But a lot of it is genuinely withdrawal from the workforce, lack of decent jobs, safety concerns, social norms, all of the things that I think are very core to the conversation we are having today. And that affects us, of course. The second set of, I think, more specific to the MFI industry is really in terms of our own business models, which all of you are very familiar with, but a day in the life of a loan officer can be extremely challenging. So the typical day starts at maybe, you are in the field or expected to be in the field at 6 in the morning for some of the early sort of collections, group meetings, and then you're sort of out in the field almost all day, come back into an office only by around sort of midday or noon. And then again, there is a fairly sort of late evening shift because of a lot of our customers are in the informal sector, in the rural context, they work in the field. So if you think about when are the customers available, these tend to be very early morning hours, late evening hours. But now if you think about it from the employee's perspective, if I as a woman have to show up for work at 6, that means I have to wake up at 3:30 and get my kids ready and cook for the whole family if I have to show up for work. So it is an extremely challenging sort of context. And some of these are rooted in the business model. So for a number of reasons, I think the MFI business model itself needs to evolve. I think we've all been talking about, moving beyond sort of the one-size-fits-all group-only meetings to at least the customers who we've been working with for many years, how to deal with them as individuals, how to give them more self-service tools and so on. So as the business model evolves, and is less, in that sense, demanding on the front line, I'm optimistic that, the share of women will grow, because just right now, it's a very sort of tough situation. I think the other aspect of the business model to keep in mind is that a lot of the job is around follow-up, collections, etc., which is viewed as a hard job, a man's job. There is some concern about the safety of sending women out for difficult collection conversations. And, some of it is, of course, just stereotype, but I think a lot of the issues are core to the business model. So as we see just multiple models emerging around financial inclusion, infrastructure, I'm sure other speakers will bring it up at some point, the job and the life of a loan officer, field officer in an MFI context is that of a roving agent, which means you're just pretty much out in the field all day. There is no office to come back to. There is no bathroom that I can use. A lot of people that I speak to say that infrastructure is often the most sort of fundamental issue. So if you don't have a branch in the village, if you don't have a safe and secure bathroom that your women staff can use, I mean, what are you even talking about, right? So I think we should also do some soul searching in terms of just very basic facilities and where do we stand, and a pure field roving job is just fundamentally unsuited in the Indian context to women. So, I think just some of that has to evolve. And I think final point, I'll, just reiterate what Sudha ma'am spoke around role models. I think that's incredibly important, because a lot of the people that we are hiring are perhaps, daughters, sons of farmers, small business owners. So there's really been nobody in the family who's been a working professional. So there are all kinds of concerns, fears about what the workplace is about. My daughter will be out working with sort of strange men, late hours. What will happen? Will this affect her marriage prospects? So a lot of those fears are real. So I think it's very important for all of us to sort of, take to the streets, speak to parents, go to universities, local universities. This is something that Dwara KGFS we do, that in every market that we operate, we go speak at the local universities to final year students, give internships, give a bit of an exposure about what does it mean to be working in an environment like that, and just make it a little bit less intimidating. Just to share a little bit of experience we had in Uttarakhand, where we have some work in the Gadwal Hills in Uttarakhand, which is a very, very challenging sort of environment for women's participation in work. We were very keen, we were particular that the head of that operation was a woman. So she was a local Gadwali. She used to be in the armed forces, took an early retirement, very well respected in that area. So she was appointed as the head. And then it became a personal mission for her to say that at least, 20-25% of my field force needs to be women. And, she actually went door to door and, telling parents of women to say, I'm the boss, send your kids to work with me. I assure you, it took that sort of effort, and same thing Sudha ma'am was saying. And then I think once you have a little bit of an initial cohort, people realize that this is not some, crazy thing. Our daughters will be safe. They will be paid well. They will acquire new skills. I think then the tide will swell. But that initial effort does require a lot of commitment. And, I'm very hopeful that, people on this panel, other Sa-Dhan members, we definitely should take it upon ourselves to change these numbers and change the reality. And I think, frankly, that is in the best interest of the business. I think it de-risks the MFI model significantly. And I think just all around better for customers as well. So let me pause there, Shiva.
Thanks a lot, Bindu. In fact, you bang on, given the low cost of operations that MFIs have to keep in mind, given that, they're going to provide loans to a category of customer at a certain rate of interest. Having the infrastructure in place, I think, will go a long way to ensure. But then how to get that infrastructure in place, because you have the cost constraints. So I think I'll move on to the next speaker, Prasida Kunam. is the promoter and CEO of Samhita Community Development Services operating in Central India. Prasida has over 19 years of experience in the areas of microfinance, financial literacy, and advising small and micro enterprises, and was the founding team at SKS Microfinance as head of operations. Prasida has done her MBA and Masters in Information Management from Washington University and a BA in Economics from St. Anne's College, Hyderabad. Prasida has been profiled among India's top 100 women in finance 2020 in leading category Business Today. 2018, profiled among 16 most powerful women in social impact category, FICCI Ladies Organization. 2009 Award for Excellence in Social Activism, Business Today 2008, cited among leading women business leaders 2008, microfinance category. So Prasida, I think we already have your previous speakers talking about a few of the issues. We would like you to highlight from your experience what has been and what you've seen and what could be the way forward.
Thanks, Shobha, and thanks, Gigi, Bindu, and Sudhatai for your excellent insights. I would like to speak more from a sectoral perspective to answer the question that while we are working with so many women, why is to kind of explain this paradox. That is the reason. Just saying that we are working with 100% women is automatically ticking off the gender category in that. That's why we don't have any concerted efforts in the sector to improve participation of women, because it's like, it automatically ticks off the gender category. So two of the things that we necessarily have to work with is number one, working with women, working with 100% women or 95% women doesn't necessarily translate that we are working on gender issues or gender equity issues. Second thing is access to finance or giving a loan doesn't automatically translate to empowerment of women. These are the misconceptions that are like, perceived perceptions of like many industry leaders also in the industry, both men and women. So these are the two things that we probably have to like, work in reducing this. At on the workforce level, like we rightly said, there is lower participation at all levels, lower participation at the leadership level, lower participation at the governance level, and lower participation at the field level also. So on the leadership and governance, we can definitely work on it. There is no excuse if we can't work on it. Like Bindu rightly pointed out, even at the field level, I think Sudhatai has like more than 70% women working. SKDRDP also has like, but most of these organizations which have higher women participation have like an NGO background and more roots in the community. So if there is anything to learn from there, that is something we need to adopt as a best practice to see how we can increase the participation of women in the workforce. Like I said, leadership and governance, there's absolutely no excuse for us. At the field level, there are two of these issues. Actually, I would say three of these issues. One is the mobility issue, because a typical field officer needs to travel about 30 to 35 kilometers in most MFIs for their daily work. Second is the safety issue. And the third is, of course, like the burden of the household as well. So while all of these have to be necessarily balanced, like the mobility, of course, like, right now, as long as they are posted in a branch, I mean, we have field officers traveling using two-wheelers, which was not as much earlier, but right now it is not that much of a constraint, like, for them to move from the branch locations to other areas. Safety is definitely a concern, but here also, I think we need to see how much of it is real and how much of it is perceived. Like we do regular training courses on gender with our team members. So one thing that comes up in those workshops or even in general conversations is this,
they cannot go bank, we cannot trust them to go and deposit in the bank, because traditionally women are not like used to doing all these activities. So a lot of it is also like, personal biases in the team itself, as opposed to organizational agenda, or even organizational commitment. So there is something to be done there. So maybe like gender sensitization among our own staff, like as a necessary activity, needs to be inculcated within the organizational HR and training practices. The third thing again is, while we have like women's networking at in all sorts of sectors, women in technology, women in private equity, women in everywhere. This is the only place where there is no networking support for women. This is again like, something that we can easily achieve together as a group. A networking kind of support for women at all levels, women in leadership levels, women in the sexual harassment at workplace. We assume that it doesn't happen, but being a practitioner in this field for so many years, it is definitely like, something that we need to, I mean, it may not be at a very serious level, but like we need to, as a sector, also have certain mechanisms to ensure that it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, and there is a mechanism for them to complain, not just in their internal committees or internal organizational level. When usually harassment happens, it's usually a male supervisor, so people may or may not be comfortable to complain about it, and so they would either like take the option of leaving the job or like just. So that is something which again, like, at a sectoral level we can do something by having some sort of helpline within Sa-Dhan, or like some national organization. So that's another thing. And at a sectoral level, again, I feel that like we still don't have enough data. We just say that 100% are women. So we really don't know how many are single women, how many are separated, how many are divorced, how many are belong to the most vulnerable segments within women. So this kind of gender segregated data needs to be, I mean, we should as a practice start like collecting this kind of data to make a real change. To ensure that, like, we are actually working towards increasing women's participation instead of like, talking about it. And this sort of gender integrated reporting should also get into Sa-Dhan's reporting of the microfinance institutions at a in their comprehensive compiled this thing. And maybe like, if you look at it, maybe also have like parameters for gender inclusiveness in our rating, in our rating reports also, the rating reports that we usually get, whether it is social performance or regular financial. So this has to be part of the rating as well. These are a few things that I thought we could do concretely as a sector to move forward in making sure that women's participation in our industry improves at all levels.
So, Prasida, you have in fact touched upon the most pertinent issues, which also I think the earlier speakers have pointed out, but then just to reiterate on the issues of mobility, safety, and also the burden of household. I will move on to the next speaker. In fact, she will be the last speaker for us today, and then we'll move on to more discussion of the panel. So Kranti Sethi, she is in fact from the HR side. So she will be, I think, able to throw better light as to why we have such a problem of poor representation, and what is it that stops HR managers from recruiting more women on the field. So Kranti is the president of Human Resources. She has over 19 years of rich work experience in the field of human resources with diverse industries spread across the country. also Asia, America, UK, and other geographies. As a passionate HR professional, she's been at the helm of building and developing organizations aligned with the larger business goals. In her erstwhile profile, she was associated with reputed companies in the field of IT and IT services, consulting and transformation services, biotechnology and diagnostics, institutional equities, and investment banking. Before embarking the journey with Swatantra, she was with Suryodaya Microfinance as Associate VP Human Resources. So over to you, Kranti.
Thank you, Shubha. And thank you, Sa-Dhan, for giving an opportunity. This inclusion is very close to my heart. And when we talk about microfinance, Sudhatai has already shared a very nice insight, and I'm floored actually, listening to what Bindu has mentioned. I mean, she is just, I would say, she hit the bullseye, right, when looking at and talking about challenges. And of course, Prasida, thank you. I mean, you really mentioned about some key areas that we can really work on in terms of data, infrastructure, and everything. Let me share with you how I embarked in microfinance, right? My journey into microfinance, and it is interesting. I mean, it all began, I came in microfinance from an investment banking industry, and that too, through by an accident. I was not getting a job after a sabbatical, because investment banking is a different world altogether, right? And I had some priorities, so was looking for specifics, and I happened to get a job near my house. And when I was in discussions, about the position, I was myself somehow put into a dilemma whether I should be taking up this job or not. This industry is different, whether I am suitable for this industry or not, and it all started with that. And I said, why not? What is it that I can't do? What is it that men would do different in this industry, and why me cannot lead HR? This is, when I began this my career in, and then I said, okay, let me take this the challenge. I went on a tour before even getting an offer. I went on a tour of field and checked it myself, and then came back and I said, I want to do this. Right? I want to take up this challenge. I want to go on field. I want to sit behind a field officer, travel with him 60, 70, whatever kilometers you tell me. Right? And from that day, I'm close to 10 years now in microfinance, and I have changed 360 degree. Right? When I say change 360 degree, the outlook has changed completely. And the only thing which I think matters at this point of time is having an open mindset. 7 years in Swatantra now, and the way we do things here at Swatantra are Swatantra by all means, right? So the freedom that comes in here across levels, the empowerment that is coming to each and every individual here is, I would say, commendable, and that has brought us where we are. Right. So, like Bindu mentioned, she had prepared about some numbers in terms of the diversity in the organization. I had also come up with some numbers here just to say that, it is all mindset of the organization and the leadership that brings in the change in the organization. And when I talk about this, the only way we can change and bring in inclusion is by setting the mindsets right and everybody think alike. If we all bring in this point that we want to induct more women, empower more women into the industry, I think we'll be able to do it. And the only thing which I understand, extensive field work in the last 10 years, meeting so many people, meeting women on field, I feel the only 3 things which come to my mind, which are essentials any women would look for, is safety at workplace, the safe place to work. Okay, that's what their family and parents need. Respectful environment. Okay, they feel respected, right? And for us in Swatantra, this is a starter. respect to all. Nobody, it's like taken very seriously if R for respect is not followed in the organization, right? And at the same time, third is support. So how would you ensure support? Is only by taking care of the 3 E's, which is empowerment, enabling women, and equal opportunity. So here, if I have to talk about, Swatantra is chaired by Ananya Birla, who is our chairperson, a woman again. And if I have to look at a diversity in the CXO and senior leadership, it's 67%, right? In senior leadership. And then we're looking at the leadership level, it's again around 46% of the leadership team is women. And then down there, on field, of course, largely as an organization, we stand at, roughly around 3 to 4%, but we're improving. The focus is to make sure that we improve year on month. So how are we doing this? We, the total employees who stand as women in our organization, 56% are field officers. Each of the field officer women is trained not just like any other field officer, but is trained to take care of her own safety as well. There are safety norms, sensitizations which are taken care of. Each branch that they are put up in are ensured that the basic infrastructure is available, right? There is a help desk which is there. There is state HRs. The structure of HR system is so strong that they have access to all managers in case of any exigencies that come into picture. But overall, the environment provided is such that they go and look forward to refer more women, right? And at Swatantra, we've always focused on making sure that the leadership travels across. So I travel, meet women, talk to people, talk to all the team members, go out with them, give them the, whatever there is always a need, a requirement of making sure that they feel they're comfortable at workplace. And if the basics are taken care of, I think, we're done, right? So more than anything else, it is important to walk the talk. Yeah, we can always talk about bringing in more women. How do we bring in is only by making sure that we give those basic requirements, keep them in place, and make them successful. So how do we enable? We have training programs, promotions, our equal opportunity. When we say it is all embedded in the system. So if there is someone qualifying for a promotion, we make sure that there is a lady also with the equal quality gets an opportunity for promotion. So if I have to look at around in the junior management to mid and senior management category, we have around 11% of women, which is a substantial number who's taking up managerial positions across. So be it back office jobs, be it central office jobs, be it support on field or field operations itself, right? So I think if we focus on making these little things important, like enabling, empowering, and equal opportunity a little stronger in our system, and we make people aware. So I think I heard Bindu saying, or Sudhaji, is that we give a target. Unless we give target to ourselves that we want to bring in these many women into the system, and we all work together, this would never change. So my 2 cents is that we look at We look at bringing avenues, we look at bringing more jobs, not just field-centric. I mean, sometimes I feel that we always speak about only field officers being women, but there are many jobs that they can do within the field areas as well, right? There are office jobs which come up. And of course, technology has kind of taken care big time, and we don't need not have big support teams on field, but there are many ways women can be inducted into the system through different avenues within the organization. And that's how I think we can kind of bring in more inclusion.
Thanks a lot, Kranti. That was indeed really passionate and a power-packed speech from your end. So what we will now do is, since we have wrapped up with all the speakers, I'll just quickly have a couple of questions, and then maybe we could open the floor up for questions from the participants, if any. So my first question would be to Sudhatai. In fact, Prasida was making a mention of how microfinance institutions or microfinance which have had larger participation from women were primarily or are primarily from the NGO space. So what is it that is different? What is it that the NGO is doing differently, and why is it not a scalable model for other other companies to follow?
I think the basic relationship with the community, it's looked as I think what Kranti was putting, that respecting everyone and not just look at transactional. So when we're looking at a transformatory process, the relationships are different. So when this foundation is there of interacting with the community, understanding them, what are the needs, and from that, this program has evolved. So I see that sort of a changing requirement from the field and being responsive to it becomes very helpful. And also seeing that what Kranti was saying about having different avenues. One of the experience we had that gradually as women came as Jankars, which are now more known as community resource persons, they get exposure and gradually they can build up, they get opportunities to come to a higher level, gradually as they take up more responsibility. So gradual induction through a smaller program, and then when they're ready to give more time in their life space, then they are ready to take up a higher role also. It may be in different ways, not necessarily all would be in the workforce, but they will be office bearers who also play an important role in community-based organizations. So I think a combination of office bearers also from the community and field teams also from the community, this combination has been helpful. Kalpana may add to this. Kalpana, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, just the fact that for microfinance institutions, my question would be, do you think that women can do it? I think a lot of gender involvement integration depends on your understanding and conviction of whether women can do it or not. I think the difference between an NGO and a commercial institution or for-profit institution is just the fact that there is a need for investment in bringing women into the forefront to address the challenges that Prasida and Bindu and others have been talking about. But are you looking at the returns as well? So as an NGO, we are looking at what are the returns in terms of retention, in terms of commitment, in terms of values that women are bringing in. Is a microfinance institution also looking at it? Is my take on it. What is different is the fact that we have very strong conviction that women can do it, and therefore we make an investment, be it in training, be it in helping them manage their household chores. Microfinance institutions can think of daycare centers, childcare centers, a lot of these. Then we will start making investments, because There are leaders here who would start thinking of, okay, if things are not working, how will I make it work? These are the things to do to make it work. Give them training in two-wheelers, run childcare centers, make an investment because I see a return. What is the return that you're seeing is the big question here.
Shobha, if I may just add to that point, just a quick comment on the return, because I think the other issue that the industry is grappling with, interestingly, is that the attrition rates on the field, and Kranti and will have better data on this. My understanding is that it's anywhere between 40 to 50% per year, which means, you are roughly rehiring your entire field base every 2 years. So when we think about returns, when we think about what changes do we need to make, there is a big sort of commercial issue here as well around what's happening with field teams.
Absolutely. So the point of gender participation is gender equality or involvement is not just about, let's look at equality and a value. It also makes a lot of commercial sense if somebody can advocate that and be less sensitive to gender issues, not just from the point of view of equality, but also from the point of view of it makes good business sense because retention is higher.
In fact, taking it forward from what Kalpana just mentioned, I know of a couple of multinational companies which are now roping in women in big numbers in some of their factories, because factories were typically known to be the place where it used to be the male workforce and not the women. But then they have kind of seen the value that it brings. It did take some time to scale it up and bring it up to a level where it really started making commercial sense for them. But then I do know of a couple of, so I think it's about the scale of operations. But then some of the key key advantages that they talk about is the fact that women are much more loyal. They remain much more committed to the organization that they're employed in. So I'm sure Kranti will be a better person to shed light on that. But then, when we talk about attrition, I think, do you think, Kranti, women are, much better when it comes to the qualities of loyalty and being committed?
So absolutely, yes. In fact, I don't have the women attrition data right away. But as Bindu rightly pointed out, the industry is anywhere between 40%, 50% odd in terms of overall attrition. We've been slightly lucky having a little less considered to the market, but we still feel that we are on the higher side. We are struggling there, bringing it down. But having said that, if we look at, if we have to compare, right, there is a significant value that women workforce bring in terms of stability, right? And one is that if the basics are right, if the infrastructure is right, the environment is right, as I mentioned to you, safety, security, or I spoke about supportive environment and respectable. If these things are taken care of, I think they are here to stay. They're here to stay, and at the same time, we look at very high levels of integrity. Correct. Integrity here is now our industry. When we talk about microfinance, typically your cash-rich industry, we deal in finances, we deal in money business, and in such kind of business, there is a lot of temptation which happens when there is cash around. And now thanks to the digital payments, everything is so swift. But when we look at women workforce, right? The basics are so strong, though, as Kalpana rightly mentioned, the value, the commitment is so high that attrition there is, I wouldn't say negligible, but considerably lower than what we look at the other counterparts, right? And that is only because that there is a strong value system and a responsibility back home. Now, again, having said that, if the support system at home is not great, right, is challenging, then comes an issue where, our hands are also tied. But as an organization, at Swatantra, what we do is we now, thanks to COVID, that we came across the hybrid, we were forced, in fact, with the hybrid work culture, everybody going back, working remotely. Of course, field operations did not have that liberty, but we had women on field, and they had challenges. If they had challenges, we gave them alternative options. Okay, ek kaam karo, don't go on field. Calling ke jobs karo, at least you can call the customers, keep them ready, and then your other counterpart goes and does the collection. Similarly, if there was furthermore challenge, then okay, take up a CGRM kind of a profile where you take inbound calls or make outbound calls. So the idea is to provide opportunities. There will be problems. Today, as a mother, when 6-7 years back, when I joined Swatantra, my baby was 5 months old, I'm sorry. And I remember being a field and at a growth phase, I was required to go on field for recruitment drives. But my organization did not even talk a bit or force me to go, hey, Kranti, you're an HR head and we are growing. We are 54 branches now, 4 states. Our outlook is go up to 1,000 branches, right? And that's the journey. So you have to go. I was given a choice. I was told, if you can monitor everything from here and set up everything, you need not travel. If you want to go and take your baby along with your nanny, please go ahead if that comforts you, if you want to go and experience, right? If you want to take morning, evening flights, Kranti, go and do that. So it was not just because I was an HR head and I had that capability of doing it, or there were funds where we could make a HOD fly. But if I have to look at another counterpart, a team member level in a support function or at field, and they have certain challenge, then we stand strong with the women and we provide that opportunity. It's about providing the comfort that she can step up and talk to you. That liberty of stepping up and talking to your seniors, to the management team, to the HR head, if that comfort is given to the team member in the organization, I think this will be far more sustainable kind of a model to have women workforce in the system.
Can I just also add one point? Sure. Where is it that you want to put your money in? So since the last 30 years, we are work with 1 lakh plus women across 2 states. We have not spent a single penny on insurance of cash collections, not a single money. If you are spending that money, can you think of investing it in gender trainings, involving women, bringing them into the workforce, breaking some of the gender barriers that we've all been talking about, so that you don't have to spend the kind of money which, thanks Kranti, you talked about integrity, which lack of integrity brings into the system. Very, very important point that the microfinance institutions have to think of. What are the checks and balances? We are getting many, many more institutions in place just to ensure that. Can we not look at the root cause and address it by bringing more?
Right. I would just like to quickly go to Bindu, to one of the points that she mentioned in her speech. You mentioned about evolving a business model. As the business model evolves, you hope that, there will be a change. So what role do you think could technology bring in this, in evolving a business model, which could help, attune the model better to the needs and aspirations of a woman?
I mean, huge, right? Because I think a lot of what we talked about in terms of what makes the life of a loan officer so challenging, so tedious on a day-to-day basis is all linked to the fact that it's fundamentally a job of collecting cash, from village after village after village. So if in some sense that task of cash collection goes away over a period of time, thanks to digitization of both disbursements as well as collections, I think then you are able to step back and ask the real question about what's the role of a frontline in a context where cash is not the main job. What does relationship management look like? What does field monitoring look like? It just really, in that sense, broadens the role. And I think at that point makes it far more interesting also for women to think about these roles, because it's not just about being on your two-wheeler and sort of covering the beat plan. So I think technology is key. We are already seeing that. But more than technology, it's about when cash goes away, a lot of possibilities open up.
My question to Prasida, in fact, Prasida can answer this, and then maybe other speakers can also chip in. Prasida, I would like to understand, you spoke about the dichotomy, why is it that women are poorly represented in the sector? Do you think the gender stereotype is in the mind of the employer or the employee? Are we getting, limited by our own limitations, or is it that you don't find enough women coming forth because of all these perceived challenges, or is it that we are also not taking that extra step to maybe accommodate?
I would just say all of that. Yeah, the biases are everywhere, and on the integrity also, I have had like female loan officers, women loan officers commit fraud as well as men. I mean, it's not like it's not that the integrity is only women are exceptionally have like great integrity. It goes, but because the number of female loan officers in the organization itself is so low that it doesn't get talked about. But you don't have to do anything special. You just have to make sure that things are equal, and equal doesn't mean that these are specific gender roles, like men and women are like the gender itself is different, the societal roles and norms are different. So what gender equity means actually is to make sure that what is appropriate for them you provide. So in that sense, it's not like what is good for a man is good for a woman, and what is good for a woman is good for a man. So that is something very, very basic that we have to understand and ensure that it is integrated into our policies, our processes, and our products. At all the three levels, these are the things that we need to ensure. I just want to touch upon something which is not related to your question, but it is more looking at the borrower level. See, we have 100% women borrowers, not because I mean, maybe I'm saying something which goes against the thing that we want to empower, but it is a matter of convenience. So that women are there, women are less likely to take risks, women are always available at home, women tend to invest in the household, women do not tend to invest in risky operations. So these are all the reasons, from an efficiency point of view, you can have 10 people in a center meeting, you can't have 10 men in a center meeting and not have a brawl there. So these are all from an efficiency, convenience point of view, that we have so many women borrowers because it's just easy. So I think what we really need to do is move there from that convenience to an empowerment, really empowerment. How do we really empower women that we've been working with for so many years, for more than 2 decades, 3 decades, all of us have been working with these women, and how much has been really for herself. The households definitely have become better because of microfinance. There is no question about it. But has it become better for the women borrower? That is something which we need to understand. And in terms of data also, we give loans to women. Where that loan is going, it's going into the household. In the same way, has her participation in the household decision making, has it been enhanced? What about the assets? If we are giving the loan to a business, is her name on the business? Or if you are giving a home improvement loan, is her name blame on the house, like, housing, definitely there have been strides in terms of both from the governments, different state governments, as well as microfinance institutions as well, to ensure that the housing loan, the woman is like, a co-owner of that asset. So we have to be very conscious in terms of like, how we are looking at a lot of these things. I wasn't aware of when I started a long time back, because we come from households where it's not like a major issue. Girls are treated equally and all of that. But then, like, as you tend to go on working in the field, tend to look at all these things, like, but it's not just enough to just look at it. We'll have to have like, concrete actions to kind of make sure that like, we truly look at like both enhancing the participation of women in the workforce, as well as we improve the well-being of the borrower that we all work with.
We do have a couple of questions I can see from in the chat box. Do we have time to take one or two questions, Rituparna? Shall we take a couple of questions?
Yeah, we can have
Sure,
it.
sure. So Poonam asks, in microfinance, how can we improve work-life balance? Just a second. Yeah, work-life balance and working hour policy, so that we can attract more talent and attract more female employees, irrespective of business targets. So anyone who would want to answer, I think Kranti, I think, yes.
I can take this up, yeah. Irrespective of women or men, gender agnostic, to Poonam, who, I would like to say that, it's pretty much achievable, right? If the objectives of the organization and the structure and policies and processes are in auto mode, right? And policy is driven from, from top down, then this is achievable. I'm very happy and glad to say that Swatantra is one of those MFIs who's known for the work-life balance culture very strongly. We have very strict timings that we adhere. Of course, during collections, we start early and we take a little time in the evening, but our deadline, a hard stop to close the branch, shutter down, is not more than 7:30 during collections. Otherwise, 6:30 is the maximum that a branch can be open. In some places, if there are technical delays or late, our branch managers have to take exception approvals, okay? And we do not work on Sundays, okay? Saturdays only, we work 2 Saturdays, of course, but no Sundays, okay? We also have implemented, given targets to team members that if they achieve collections on time, they may not have to work that one Sunday during collection. And we have successfully achieved branches not working on all the Sundays, right? Our audit team, right? Our risk team, the operational risk on field, their KRA is to, during the branch visits for risk, their KRA is to check the timings, whether the closure timings are adhered to. And if the timings are not adhered to, there is a red flag which is raised. This comes to me and Anujit, who's our CEO. So our CEO and myself, this comes to us and we ask rightful questions. And if they don't have a backup to share that there was an exception approval taken in advance to, keep up the branch open, then it's taken very seriously. No calling on Sundays or weekends or weekly offs or holidays. If today I'm on leave, or be it a field officer, as per the organizational policy, unless and until it is emergency, work cannot stop for today right now. People are not allowed to call anyone. That's one initiative very strong in the system. After working hours, so if my shift ends at 6:30, I cannot receive a call from anyone beyond 6:30. And if I receive a call, I will consider it as an emergency. and only then I will lift it. So these are some checks and balances. If these are achieved top down, right? And if, for example, if I'm an HR head and I have a team member and there's something I call at 8 o'clock, report page, I'm not adhering to it. I'm not walking my talk. What is the precedence that I am setting? So hence, we take it very seriously, right from the CEO till the last mile team member. It's a norm. So work-life balance, if it is adhered by everyone, taken up seriously, the checks and balances are in place, and it is a culture in the organization, it's pretty much achievable. So be it men, be it a male colleague or a women, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's agnostic of gender. Another thing is study leave is also we encourage all our employees to complete their graduation. If they are graduate, we encourage them to complete their masters, right? And if they are masters, we encourage them to take care of any continued education courses. And if they need leave for this, no manager can say no to it. It's not at all, I would say it's not a policy here. They have to accept it. So these are some things which go, as I would say, it's given into the system in Swatantra, and this is how we achieve it. Pretty much achievable by everyone. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for addressing my question.
Thank you, Kranti. The next question is from Kalpana Pant. She's asked us to everyone, and I think I would also put this up to Mr. Maiman. Can Sa-Dhan think of designing gender audit which the organizations can take up internally?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kalpana. In fact, the first response from Sudhata itself, she had mentioned that why can't the Sa-Dhan Institute award, something like a award for the institutions having a incremental growth in the women's participation. Probably this is something which we can definitely look at, and maybe it may not be an audit per se, but then at least we can get some data from the institutions, and we can at least felicitate and award those people who are all institutions who are doing better in this area.
Not only that, I think being on the board, we have been talking about, I'm on the board of Sa-Dhan too. Medha Tari and Dipali Panjoshi, Ms. Dipali Panjoshi ji from RBI. All the three of us have been advocating several things that we can take up at a sectoral level, which I think we should definitely do. Both in terms of data and information, like we should have like quickly we should be able to answer is attrition like better with men or women, and all of these things. Those are simple things that we can easily integrate into our system in terms of gender integrated reporting, or having kind of a networking space for women from the organizations, as well as audits or rating, including gender parameters. We should all do it, and we should definitely do it. Definitely. Take up concrete steps. Yeah.
Sure. One more question, I think.
Yeah, one more question again from Poonam. This was just one.
Any innovative ideas or policy for employees?
Yes. Yeah, she says, can any innovative ideas or policy for employee engagement to keep them engaged with the organization? She asks this question to everyone. So I think one innovative idea per speaker.
Shubha, I'll just say that, for us, I mean, the work that we do fundamentally with low-income households, customers, I think the purpose of what we do as an industry, what can be bigger than that? So what we try to do is, as much as possible, connect people back to that mission, remind about, so it's not about ping pong tables in office, but it's about saying, go home and play ping pong if you want. But the fact that while you are here, the work that you do is transformative, that's what you should be attracted to.
Anyone else would like to comment? Prasida, Sudha, Kranti?
I'm just thinking through. in terms of those who work in the office, ensuring that they go to the field, experience it. That is one way in which they feel more engaged and understand the importance of the work which the organization is doing. And secondly, in the morning, when the team comes together, sharing of learning of a previous day helps, engage them better.
From my side, I think like when we speak to people from our team members as to what they would value, one other thing beyond what the purpose of it, most of them are happy that they are able to work with women and kind of help them also achieve a better standard of living. The second thing is an opportunity to learn. Because that kind of contributes to their personal growth and there is a sense of achievement in that. So if you provide learning opportunities in any sense, like small, big, I think that's again, that will be a key factor in like, making sure the employees are engaged.
Kanti, anything from your end?
Yeah, in addition to what just Prasida mentioned, and of course Bindu and Sudhaji mentioned, one thing which really engages, which we have experienced, is something beyond work. And of course, learning is a bigger change maker for everyone. But as an organization, we also focus on a lot of employee health, fitness, right? And when I talk about health, it's not just about being healthy, eating healthy. Of course, these are field jobs, and then it's quite challenging there. Eating on time. They don't sometimes, if things are not available, they just pick up anything and eat. So we take care of little things which keep them connected with us. That organization cares and they equally put in. So we what we also do is we do a lot of sessions. There was a series of yogathon which was happening. There was a project Parivartan which we for our employees. What means Parivartan is, as you grow in your responsibilities, you're staying away from your house. A lot of people had picked up habits like, eating anything, putting on 20, 30, 40 kgs, whatever you say it, and I'm talking in real sense. The health parameters had gone for a toss. So we took sessions from top nutritionists, gave them free sessions one-to-one, enabled things at their branches. Okay, little things that matter. Then yoga series, fitness sessions, also empowering them and giving them financial, helping them improve their financial health. So running a program holistically and making sure that even a field officer, even if he saves 100 rupees a month, compounding effect of that would be much more. Right, so we connected with Dwara with their gold investment. Yeah, so we connected with Investica as an organization, and we came up with a minimum small product of 200 rupees a month. All our HR fraternity in Swatantra ensured that their zones had participation. So 200 rupees a month, but in the long term. And then people like me, our CEO, all the zonals, everyone talking together and saying, you know what? हम जब छोटे थे ना, छोटे as in young in our career, बचपन में, हमारे career के बचपन में, okay, there was nobody to tell us. So we didn't really act smart. But for you guys, it is me here, sitting here, telling you, ये रहा एक product, safe है, 200 रुपया save करो. Start now, start early. Then helping people make rightful decisions. So health for us is not just physical, it is mental, it is social, it is financial, it's holistic, and we all take it up. So if me, our CEO, our director, all the zonals, anybody walks in for a visit, they will ensure that first, business apart, तुम कैसे हो, फैमिली कैसे हो, सेफ्टी के लिए क्या करते हो, हेल्थ के लिए खाना टाइम पे खाते हो, सोते हो. So that kind of reassures that when Swatantra runs a program, we have a program under which we run all these initiatives, and it is called Swatantra Cares. And when we say that, we mean it by all, we actually mean it. So it's letter and spirit both. So anybody wants to go for a 10 days Vipassana and comes and asks for a leave, of course, not younger team members, but maybe an older one, just to try it out. Why not? Someone wants to take up a marathon, we just go all out, please go. Someone wants to go for a 10 days hike to Everest base camp, please go. So we empower team members holistically, completely. And everybody is in it in full capacity. So that keeps engagement, that keeps employees engaged. People who see value in this will always stick to the organization, will value organization, right? People who are any which ways disengaged, tum kuch bhi karo, you sun, moon, star, you bring anything. That's not going to happen, right? So we do it by all means, and those who take it, and thankfully attrition has been in better shape with us, of course high for us, but we've managed to keep some engagements going across. So this has helped.
Should we take one last question?
Can I just to clarify and reiterate something, but work-life balance is not just about what Kranti initially talked about, sticking to time, because that may not be possible. The timings are so different in different locations. What she mentioned later is more important about looking at the team members not just as people who are going for collections or doing specific things, but as persons, and therefore looking at them, and especially women, because they have other caregiving responsibilities. So sometimes if they're saying, I have to go and take care of someone, then you have an alternative to that, and you give priority to that as well. So I think work-life balance is more about understanding their other interests and responsibilities. It need not be 8:30 के बाद आपको कॉल नहीं करना है और 10 बजे के पहले हम आपको कॉल नहीं कर सकते, because that may not effectively function in all locations. Just wanted to clarify that.
And very well said, Kalpana. Actually, that's a point. And by ensuring that we cap on the timings, essentially, is to make sure, even the policy says that what we do of work hours is essentially our time, and invest it rightfully, like you said. So be it a hobby, be it sports, do whatever. But then, from organization, there will be no pressure. And that enables them to have a balanced life. Thanks for putting up that point, Kalpana.
Sir, should we?
I think we should.
I think we can keep going on and on because this is certainly an area of interest for one and all. I would like to hand it over.
Some male hand is there. Can we get it? Asking what it is. Somebody wants to raise somebody.
Hello.
I think.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello. So it's Porus from Tata Capital HR team. We are fairly new in the microfinance business. Last almost now 2 years now. We are very proud of a women team. We take lots of pride. We have branch managers, quality executives, loan officers. We are trying to get the best environment for them. And we are welcoming as many women folks who want to apply to us. We are also looking at the hygiene factor and a career growth for them to enhance at a much larger and quicker scale compared to male counterparts. Tata Group being diversified and very serious about women workforce. We want to really make a difference and change in the industry. If anybody would want to help us to reach out to more female employees, make them more leaders. So we call them alpha male for us rather than alpha female. And they are really an amazing support function. their dedication in the current difficulty part of new business is amazing. They are far committed, far serious, and far matured. In fact, many of my freshers are first-time female employers who are under incentives compared to male candidates. So I just want to thank all of you for a wonderful session. It gives me more vigor, more energy. And I wish I was a female myself today. I would have clapped, from my end. I take great pride in being part of the session. And I wish many more from my company will join you guys. But amazing work done, especially Kranti ma'am, Prasida, Shobha, and Sudha ma'am. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I really will be taking lots of notes from you guys and implementing it. I may be a competitor, but I am with all of you and you're with all of us to ensure that we have an amazing women team.
Yeah, thank you. Roshan, would you like to say anything? Roshan? He is our board member.
Wanted to congratulate the team, and it's great to see so many energized conversations. So thank you to everyone who's put this together.
Thank you.
I just want to speak half a minute.
Yes,
I'm Narendra Naik from Osapi, Odisha.
Yes.
We as an association, we are always looking forward to enhance the female force definitely in the MFIs. And this is my submission. I thank Sa-Dhan for organizing such type of webinar, which is really giving a lot of insights. So I would like to request Sa-Dhan and even MFI members to let us have a kind of list down some of the specific measures to increase the female workforce in our MFIs, members organizations. That will be really, actually, if something comes up, that will be helpful for the association, state association like us, to follow up with our members to increase this percentage of female workforce in their respective organizations. So I would request Sa-Dhan to work very closely with the members as well as state association, and to come out with a kind of specific kind of policy or guidelines and share with all the MFIs, and down the line in the state level we will be following it up. So that was my submission, and thank you very much to Sa-Dhan and all the speakers. It was really very, very valuable insight that we received today. Thank you.
Yeah, Shobha, anything you want to say?
No, sir. I think it was indeed a brainstorming session that we had across all speakers, and a wonderful participation from the audience. So I'll hand it over to you for concluding the program today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to all the panelists as well as Shobha for moderating a wonderful session. And in fact, basically a couple of things which I understand from the whole conversation is that basically one is the mindset of the organization. If the mindset, you have a positive mindset that women are equally capable and they are capable of taking up this the kind of work we are having, I think that itself is a first challenge one has to look at. Secondly, creating a suitable, appropriate culture in the organization, a culture of caring, culture of taking care of the women employees, and taking care of their health related. Health means what Kranti said, it includes everything, not the physical health alone. It could be financial, social, everything includes. So taking care of that, giving a proper work-life balance, which I think the Kalpana has also substantiated to the point which Kranti has said. So creating a proper environment is definitely, an organization is important for bringing the women into the fold of microfinance sector. Although we all know it's a tough area to work with, especially in the field. It has to, especially with the kind of infrastructure available, the kind of facilities available in the rural areas and the branches, probably it becomes slightly tough for them. But then if you consciously create an environment and create an effort to take care of some of these infrastructural issues, I'm sure that is going to help us in going forward. There are issues like safety, there are issues like, but then sometimes the issues may not be real. It could be, as Prasida said, probably it could be a little perceived risk also, because now I'm sure there are areas where women can very freely walk around and do their business. There's nothing wrong with it. And with the technology coming in the field, technology of digital transfer and transfer through the CSPs, I think the risk has been minimized a lot. As Bindu said, probably a change in the business model itself can attract more of women into our fold. So I really thank you. In fact, there is so many other points I have just noted down. I don't want to go into that, but a couple of things I just thought from Sa-Dhan side I would like to mention here is that probably one, as Susudata said, we would definitely, when our national conference takes place, we would definitely give an award to the institutions which has grown their women workforce from the previous year to the current year. I mean, on a year-on basis, how much growth has been created. Probably we'll look at that. Secondly, probably it was mentioned here about the various facilities, different institutions like Kranti Swadhantra, or that gentleman who spoke about that Tata sponsored MFI. So we will try to compile the practices which is happening in different institutions, which can help in motivating or bringing a better environment in the MFI sector. So we'll try to see how best we can compile and make it into a kind of a publication, or if nothing, if we can't bring a publication, at least an advisory kind of thing, we can circulate to all the members so that we can have some efforts to see some increase in the women participation in our workplace. So altogether, I feel it was a great discussions we had. Some good ideas have come up, good suggestions have come up from association side. Osafi Naik Saab also said about how the associations can work together in taking a concerted effort in this manner. So we will try to do the best possible as far as Sa-Dhan is concerned. And I thank each one of you for being here. We had almost 100 participants attended this conference, which shows that there is a lot of interest among the people on this subject. So thank you so much, and thank you, Shobha, for moderating it excellently. And thank you all the speakers, Sudata, then Bindu, Prasida, and Kranti, all for your excellent insights. Of course, Kalpana has really brought in some additional value to the whole discussion. And thank you so much. And let me once again wish everyone a very, very happy Women's Day, International Women's Day on 8th, and a happy Holi, which is going to happen next week. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shobha. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudata and Prasida. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice meeting everyone.
Happy Women's Day to everyone.
Happy Women's
May each
Day.
one be successful. Yeah, take care.
Absolutely. Thank
Bye.
you.